Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we can do a roll call.
Member Rothenberger?
Yes.
Member Thompson?
Yes.
Member Looney?
Yes.
And Chair Stevens?
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Great. Welcome to our special committee meeting to review one of the upcoming ordinances for the beach. Just a few things. By chance, we have a hard stop at noon, but perhaps we can be efficient to get through it. Second, being a special meeting, we have to stick to this agenda. We can't stray. Our clerk will help me keep us on task. With that, we'll start with audience comments. Does anyone in the audience have a comment?
I have no speaker card.
No speaker cards? Then we'll move right to number 2, item for discussion, our ordinance. Do you want to, let's discuss just how you would like us to go through this?
Sure. So Brandon Berry, planner with the city. We had brought this to you a few weeks ago as a template, and I think there was agreement among the board to go through section by section. I know that certain sections tie in with one another, so there might inevitably be some jumping around, but I think proceeding through in the format that it's currently laid out is probably the cleanest way to do that, and then we can discuss as we move through. Is that still all right with the committee?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
And can you guys hear me? Page 28 of 30, the before and after comparison. Thank you for doing that. That's huge.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, that's the level of detail I think we need to be at today. Isn't that right?
I agree. If the committee finds it helpful, that's good to hear. So
Thank you for doing that.
absolutely.
You and your crew. So.
All right. So I will start at the very top, skipping the recitals. This is Exhibit A. This encompasses all of the amendments that would be made to the Code of Ordinances and Land Development Code under this ordinance, should it be passed as written. So we're looking to Section 58.1 of the Code of Ordinances. This is already established, and we define sunrise and sunset for use elsewhere in that section. Does the committee have any concerns with those definitions or them being included in that section?
I have an update comment that in another section you have sunrise and sunset, and the definitions are slightly different.
Okay.
Which might be on purpose, but I'll bring it up when I get there.
All right.
When I read through this, the youth, is that movie with Joe Pesci? The Youths.
The two Utes.
What was the name of that? What's the name of that movie? Doesn't matter. Anyway.
My cousin Benny?
My cousin Vinny.
Yes.
Yeah, the Utes. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to Section 58.26. This is prohibited activities in city parks and beaches. This section is specifically laying out prohibitions. It keeps in the prohibitions that are currently present, it adds in clarifying regulations for showers, when showers can be used. There had been a comment from Member Kurzman to potentially just clarify that these are city-provided public showers, beach showers in item 6. And 7 is also a new addition. Any comments from the committee?
Question, and this just hit me yesterday on the sleeping on the beach, which I understand. Is it legal to be on the beach if you're just walking the beach in the nighttime hours?
I don't believe there's any outright prohibition under this section for that. It's specifically for sleeping.
Okay.
My question, and it'll be prevalent throughout this, is the distinction between public beach and private beach. It's my understanding that the whole beach is zone preservation.
Yes.
So I'll be asking why just the public beach? Why not also private beach? For example, the discharge of human wastes.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't that be for the entire beach? So that's just one example. And I would, if there is a distinction, why is there a distinction for public and private?
Do we have jurisdiction over private?
We should look at each one of those independently. Where is the one about, what you just said, defecating on
3
the
right
beach or
here.
whatever?
Discharge of human waste.
I'm sorry, I'm not finding it.
So 5826, we're on page 7 of 30 of the
58.
assignment. If you go down to
Okay,
20,
sorry, I was on 32. 26.
5820, page 7 of 30 of the attachment.
Okay, so
I just used that as
this
a-
is one you would want to add to private too?
Well, let's
Like-
look at all of them. I was just using that as an example, because
Each one has-
it's
yeah.
an obvious example, but
Each one has to be considered differently.
so sleeping from sunrise to sunset would be one I would say we should consider.
If you have a house on the beach and you have a hammock out there and it's your property, you probably have a right to sleep on your property outside.
Okay.
So that would be one where you wouldn't want to include the private beaches.
But if you're,
If it's someone trespassing in a hotel and sleeping on a chair, then the hotel has a right as a property owner to trespass that person. So you want to just keep a distinction going depending on, but no one should be defecating or
Yeah.
depositing human waste on sand on the beach, whether it's public or private.
So the reason actually, we can start with sleep.
Okay.
We've had instances where there's been trespassing on private property, not a hotel, but personal private property, someone sleeping, and then trouble getting the sheriff to trespass. They'll say things like, that's a civil matter, we don't get involved in that. I've been told that a couple different times, which was a surprise to me, but.
I'll think about that one some more then, but there's a distinction there because,
Does that make sense? That's why I bring sleep,
I have to be very careful because we want not
understand.
to add new regulations on private property because of Senate Bill 180. So we're also looking at it for that perspective too.
at the end of the day, there's two sources for regulation. One is the county sheriff's office and the other is our city code enforcement people. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Where do we draw the line?
Typically what happens is that the code enforcement does it during the day, and then if they have someone available, say on a weekend, if they have 1 or 2 people available in the evenings, they'll do it. If it's an evening violation and there's no code enforcement on duty, then typically we'll default to the sheriff's deputies.
If there's a trespass during the day, can city code enforcement act on behalf of the sheriff's office?
The sheriff typically does the trespass because they're criminal violations. And our code enforcement does civil offenses where the sheriff does criminal.
There you go. That's what I was
Basically, for
looking for.
trespass, the property owner asks them to be trespassed, they're given a warning. If they refuse to leave, then they're arrested and taken to jail, where our code enforcement officers can't take people to jail.
And
Thank you.
it gets even more interesting. Say, again, I've gotten this through an example portrayed to
Real life experience too.
Well, I didn't, but it was there.
Secondhand, yeah.
Somebody was out of town, there was somebody on their property doing something. They called, but because they weren't physically present,
Mhm.
they couldn't be trespassed. And now the way you gotta go around is you have to go to the sheriff and register your property, that the property can be trespassed if they're registered with the sheriff. So trespassing has been a sore point, just kind of like dogs on the beach has been a sore point for enforcement.
Okay,
And I'm not talking about hotels, I'm actually talking about the few lots that actually own to the mean high water line.
okay.
Okay. Huts and shanties and other shelters, I'm assuming that even with private property, you need a permit to do a hut, a shanty,
Correct, yes.
drive putt, hit golf balls.
Brandon, would that include the, I don't know what they call them, they're portable, they fold up, you pull them out, and there's like a shade.
The cabanas.
I hate to use the word cabana because that's a different meaning in here.
Oh,
But,
A shade tent or?
like you go to a swim meet and the teams put them out for their swimmers to sit under on the pool deck.
Portable shelters or.
Yeah, portable sunshade, I guess I would call it, or they now have some that the wind blows and then it creates a shade underneath.
Well, I think elsewhere, and we'll cover that when it gets to this section, but there was an item moved forward that on the public beach, there's a limitation to tent size that had been carried forward from the earlier discussion. I think something like that would fall under that. We also were directed by the commission, and we'll get to that at some point as well, to look at uncommon, very large structures that could be obtrusive in some manner. I think they wanted us to look into defining what that would be from a business standpoint, so.
In this one, we probably want to, number 2, put in an exemption for those sunshades that of the certain size requirement, maybe a cross-reference to that section, except as provided in section, whatever it would be,
Okay.
so that there's not an argument about whether a sunshade is a hut or a shanty or actually an other shelter. So except as provided in.
Okay.
But leaving, for example, the discharged human waste, if it stays in this section the way it's written, this is only for public park or beach,
Well,
just where this is located.
yes, it probably won't be in this section, but we'll find another section where it's appropriate to include that prohibition.
And please don't take any of my comments as wordsmithing. You guys are the experts. I'm just.
No, that's okay.
It's intent.
Yep.
Understood. Okay.
Any other comments on this section? Okay.
All right, moving down to section 5832, which is a relocation of 9470. And I'll try to bring these up as I work through the ordinance. One of the comments from Member Kurzman, and something we've started to look into with the attorney's office, is that this is the Parks Division of the Code of Ordinances. We do address beach regulations, so my recommendation would simply be to cross-reference it in some way. We'll find somewhere in Chapter 95, the beach ordinance, to either reference this section or have its own regulation that mirrors this section, whichever is more appropriate. I would like to keep beaches in this section, but we'll have a cross-reference or otherwise. So I don't know the reason for blocks M and N being struck. That might be just due to it being considered under the Duns as
That
our
was one
property
of
owners.
my questions. I actually did a little bit of research and got a couple different answers of why it was put there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go, because there were conflicting, but that it was put there for a reason in the first place. And my ask would be is to have it unstruck and included.
Okay. Is there consensus on that item? On strike?
Good.
Okay. This is a modification, prohibition B. It has been modified but from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. To sunrise to sunset as defined. Any comments from the committee on this?
Nope.
Okay. There is also a separate penalty. The fine is up to $500 or imprisonment not to exceed 60 days, which I believe is the misdemeanor limitation. Is that correct, City Attorney?
Yes, so typically, if you were to violate a municipal ordinance, it would say, or a misdemeanor of the second degree. So I will probably change that to actually say that.
Okay.
That again gets into the distinction of criminal enforcement versus the civil code enforcement that we do. That would be handled through the sheriff's deputies and the state attorney's office. Is one route of enforcing that, should we find the need to enforce it criminally.
Any other comments from the committee on this section? Thank you. Okay, moving on to Chapter 95. This is a new chapter being created through this ordinance. It is the beach chapter of the code. We have an intent and purpose here. This has been carried forward from one of the older drafts. Any comments on the intent and purpose? Okay. We have here a list of definitions. Certain definitions were taken out that pertain specifically to regulations that would have been introduced as part of the commercial regulations. There, for example, cabanas was previously defined in here. It did include in the definition some regulatory content. I know that multiple members contacted me and said that might be more appropriate for the subsequent sections, but it's been struck. We are just moving these definitions forward. A lot of these are already within the code. We're just consolidating them into one section. Purpose of having a definition section in a chapter is when the definition might vary slightly from the common meaning of that definition, or when a term is unclear. Did any members have any comments in any of the particular definitions within this section?
There's one, private and public makes it clear. There's a couple instances where you refer to city beaches, which means it's not private or public, which would mean both, correct? Further in the document, you refer to the city's beaches, which would mean both.
Correct, right. When it's not preceded by private or public, it would mean both.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, the sunrise and sunset in this section is slightly different than the one you showed before.
Yes.
I don't know if that was on purpose. It's just, I don't know why I noticed, but I noticed.
One's a little bit longer.
The other one mentioned clouds or something, I think.
One has
Whatever.
clouds,
Whatever you guys think. Is,
diurnal rotation of the earth.
Oh.
It's pretty sad when you have to define the sunrise.
And they ring the bell.
With such scientific
sunset.
certainty.
yes,
If you see the sun, it's up.
I just look.
But it could be obscured by clouds, right?
Whatever
So-
you guys need to enforce is how I would,
Yeah, we're
use.
trying to think of the two Utes from my cousin Vinny lawyer defending the two Utes that were on the beach sleeping.
That's a great comment. I think the definitions in Chapter 58 are a little bit more expansive, so I'll probably bring those forward and replicate them. So. Okay.
So while we're on definitions, I hesitate to bring this up because it's like a big can of worms. Micro-mobility. Are you satisfied that the definition we have is all-encompassing for yesterday, today, and possibly tomorrow too? I mean, hoverboards, right?
There's always new things coming up.
I mean, they're I'm
Right.
just tossing it out there.
So what, and Member Kurzman brought this up as well, our definition does vary slightly from the statute. And I'll ask the city attorney, would it be better to just defer to the statutory definition? That the reason why I included this definition here is because we have a separate micromobility ordinance that has this identical definition, which does vary from the statutory definition. So I think if we're going to update this one, we should probably update both at the same
Be
time.
consistent,
Right.
yeah.
Is the distinction the 20 miles per hour? That's different from ours and the statute?
So at the state level, according to the comment that was sent earlier, the request was to stick with the statutory definition, which at the state level defines micromobility as rental devices only, not privately owned devices. So those that are rented, like scooters you see sometimes that are available for rental, it would not include someone's personally owned micromobility device as regulated through the statutory language.
That's for the county or the state?
Through the state definition,
Okay, through
yes.
the state definition?
Yes.
Which obviously we want to expand to include privately owned. Is that,
Well, I mean, and this is potentially one difference between the micromobility ordinance and the beach ordinance, where if the committee were to look to prohibit all non-assistive micromobility devices on the beach from being utilized on the beach, whether they're owned in private or whether they're a public rental device, we would probably want to keep this definition in. So prohibiting somebody from using an e-bike on the beach, for example, would use this definition because it would cover whether it's an individual's bike or their rental. If we were to go back to the statutory definition in both the micromobility ordinance and here, that would only be rental devices that would be prohibited.
we don't want to do that.
Right, and we also want to worry about electric wheelchairs.
We do exempt those through the definition and through the section,
Last
through the
sentence.
micromobility ordinance, yes.
You know, my concern with this is it's not so much the device, it's the use. Not the use, but the use,
The reckless.
When
right?
we got to that, because I knew this was going to come up in this meeting, I have an e-bike. I love my e-bike. I would love to be able to ride it on the beach.
Right.
I've almost gotten hit a couple times by people zipping up and down.
Bingo,
I've
yeah.
seen somebody get hit
Yeah.
by a regular bicycle on the beach, and I've seen children weaved in and out by both e-bikes and bikes, as well as those little scooters where you balance on.
The hoverboards with
So-
wheels. Yeah.
Even though I would love to do it myself, and then I've seen them plow through seabirds. Right? There's
I mean-
several different things. I am not in favor of, and this is my own opinion, of those types of devices being ridden on the beach from the personal experiences I've had. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
You know, it'd be nice if we could say, you know, use it, but if you use it wrong, you lose your right to use it.
well, it's
Right.
enforcement, because now
Yeah,
I
yeah.
almost got hit. They zipped by.
Yeah,
You can't enforce
I'm
it.
with you on this. You know, it happens to me too. And
I've just seen
I don't want us as a entity to say, no, you can, or yes, you can. You know, a blanket, I think that's wrong. To your point, you got an e-bike, you're gonna ride it responsibly. You're not gonna zigzag it. I mean, it's like an automobile on a highway. Instead it's a bike on a beach.
So the way they deal
How do you do that?
with that would be,
We don't let
A permit,
e-bikes on
you have to-
sidewalks in the city.
you could say that you have to get a permit, and if you violate or you're reckless, the permit is revoked. And
Which
then
is
you would,
obvious.
but that creates an enforcement issue
Permit
then,
would be likened to a driver's license.
taking your license away, taking your permit away.
Have you guys talked about this?
Well, we do have a later section where we prohibit e-bikes on the beach as drafted, and bikes could be allowed, non-motorized bikes could be allowed with a permit. We could modify that to require a permit, but as the city attorney brings up, that's more registration, that's more,
And you know, I'm coming late to this party. I know you guys have gone through this over and over and over again, and I don't have the details. But here we are. So
No, I'm totally with John on that. I'd love to ride my bike on the beach too, but I wouldn't do it for the same reasons. And I think if you get into a licensing thing, does that mean somebody that's not from here can get a license and go out on the beach? Or are you gonna, it would be pretty messy if you could say, oh, only people in St. Pete Beach can get on. That's not gonna work. I can't see that working.
Ralph, is there a way to split the middle and say,
Well, it's,
use the word
Let's get-
responsibly?
let's get your-
It's really a policy decision, for the majority to decide
It's
at the
policy,
council level.
it's enforcement more than anything else. I mean, we can draft, and this
If you're
is,
going to allow it, then enforcement issues arise. If you prohibit it, then you don't have to worry as much about enforcement.
okay.
There's a lot of rental, electric bike rental places too, and as brought up, you have many people coming here just for the day or for the weekend or the week. Do they get a permit? You take their permit away, so what? They're not coming back. And it is a more populated beach. It's a more urban beach compared to areas where you don't have as many people on the beach.
So as it stands right
Still
now,
have
if you come
bird
to St. Pete
issues.
Beach and you rent an electric bike, you can ride it on the street, period. Nowhere else. Is that right?
Correct, not on sidewalks.
Not on the sidewalk, not on the beach, the street.
Bike paths, bike share
Bike
lanes,
paths, okay.
that kind of thing. Parks, I'm not sure if there's a park with a sidewalk.
So to play devil's advocate, what if you own a one-wheel hoverboard and you're zooming on the beach on a hoverboard and it's quiet? You don't know it's behind you until it's like 5 feet off your left shoulder, and it's going by at like 15 miles an hour, maybe 20.
Just like an e-bike.
Do our rules differ from one scenario, the bike scenario, to the hoverboard scenario?
So I think, and I'm looking it up right now just to confirm, but we defer to 316003 Florida statute, which I think covers those, what we define as personal assistive devices, which are not of a nature that are protected under, handicap accessible device. And I'm just checking here. I believe it's more encompassing.
Hoverboard also, since they are in existence now. I mean, there's going to be some things that come out we don't know about yet. The one wheel ones are, I forget whether those are actually hoverboards or whether they're
I
called.
don't know.
That-
I don't know what, yeah.
It's like a skateboard type thing.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
the one big wheel.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, it's a skateboard with a
We'll
one
look
wheel
up
in the
the
middle.
name of those, yeah.
Yeah, and the statutory.
This almost took me out.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
yeah.
taking this personal.
And the statutory definition that we defer to is any self-balancing two non-tandem wheeled device designed to transport only one person with an electric propulsion system with horsepower ratings and wattage and so on. So it's supposed to be encompassing, I believe, of devices outside the bike and, not including the exemptions.
We might want to pick up some of that language and put it right in here just to aid sheriffs and code enforcement. They won't have to go look up the statute while they're out there in the sand. They can
So then just
see it.
to be clear, what we discussed that pertains to bikes, e-bikes, also pertains to one-wheel hoverboard. Is that right?
I want to make sure you had
Yeah.
your.
Is that right? Is that right?
I want to make sure she had her
Yeah.
ability to share her thoughts.
Yeah.
No, I agree with the motorized. They're way too fast. You've got, everyone's distracted, there's kids running up and down, and, what was it? One day, last week, there was a seagull with its wings separated down at the end of Pass-A-Grill, and we were all trying to figure out what was it hit with? Something obviously separated its wing, and it was on the beach, on the shore. So we didn't, I don't know when anyone saw the accident, but something quickly, swiftly ran into that seagull. So they were trying to get someone out there to scoop it up and take it to rehab. But yes, no, I'm not in favor. They're always causing trouble on the beach. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's either, to Ralph's point, it's either an all or nothing, because it comes down, if it's a something, it's an enforcement nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have 24-hour
No.
beach survey. I was out Sunday night. There were 2 dogs, a woman with a Christmas tree set up, going around asking people for photos, and a kid destroying the sea oats in the sand dune
And
Sunday
you know-
night in Paso Grill.
Maybe
was
that's
insane.
probably the right way to do it, is just say you can't do it.
Yeah.
People are still gonna do it.
Right.
If they're doing it responsibly, no harm, no foul.
Well, it's still an infraction.
It's still an infraction. But you don't have any, if they're doing
No
it,
gray area enforcement.
yeah,
Yeah. It's just
So-
enforcement is really difficult.
that's what it is. Okay.
All right, so we will keep this in. We will expand that definition to ensure that it includes the statutory list, including
And
hoverboard.
not to belabor it, but just, I'm going to share my ignorance here. As things stand today, can someone, take a motorized device and ride it down the beach legally? Like tonight?
I think it's on our table, right?
No, that was a commercial and
I thought we had no bus.
public beach comparison. So let me check here.
Okay.
I'm just trying to clarify.
I don't believe e-bikes are allowed on the beach today.
I don't know if they are or not. Or a
Correct.
hoverboard, or a whatever thing.
It is currently prohibited
It
in our
is prohibited,
micromobility
okay.
ordinance. So
So there's not this big
Not
aha
taking it away.
educational moment that we need to go into and say, hey, no longer, because
I'll end where I began. I have an e-bike and I would love to go up and down the beach, but it's not one close call, because I walk the beach almost every day like you do. It's not one close call, it's not two close calls, it's multiple close calls
Happens all
with
the time.
multiple devices.
right.
And I just must be a target. I don't know.
Stop wearing that T-shirt.
Someone's trying to
Stop
take
wearing that Target T-shirt.
Yeah.
Who enforces that during the day? The cops and their explorers?
it could be. We've adopted a citation process for our code enforcement staff, so
Okay.
that
All right, fair enough.
No, we jumped ahead there, but
oh,
with micromobility.
good comment. Any other comments on the definitions section?
Brandon,
Yes.
on the permanent structure thing, what's the 180 days? I saw that several times. What kind of structure is that?
So a structure, when it's built with the intent to remain for over 180 days, is considered a permanent structure under the Florida Building Code. So we just wanted to stay consistent with that.
Okay.
You kind of have to address intent with that. There's a little bit of discretion on that, but we see events on the beach sometimes where there's I know we've had beach polo and stages and things like that set up where it's clearly only intended to be there for 3 or 5 days, whereas sometimes other structures are constructed and intended to be left there, but they might be mobile. So that's just the ability for us to regulate them from a building code perspective through our local code.
Okay, thank you.
Looking at penalties, this is another carryover from the ordinance from around a year ago. Any thoughts on Section 95?
Anyone?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a relocation of a section out of 9568, addressing chairs, tables, adding benches, and umbrellas. So in general, this is expanding a regulation that a grouping of these temporary beach furniture cannot be placed in a way that it would significantly inhibit the public use of the beach. This would not apply to commercial beach, private beach, regulations on private beaches. We are not addressing that through this section. It's a violation to leave equipment overnight and, furniture overnight, and each individual piece of furniture can constitute a separate violation. That isn't a change in intent, it's just a citation modification. Each piece of furniture would be a separate violation if it's left overnight. Skipping down to E, that would also allow for the city to remove furniture if it's left out overnight on the public beach. We already require a business tax receipt to set up chairs, tables, umbrellas, or cabanas upon the public beach. That would remain. This is just another clarification. When we have the setups on the public beach, it would require a permit from the city, whether a special event permit or otherwise. And then the only real new regulation, this again is another carry through, is item D. Maximum tent size would be 10 by 10. That has been our policy for issuing temporary commercial setups on the beach for special events and so on. 10 by 10 is usually the tent size that is regulated. This would be a new regulation that is applicable to the public beach. So that would be really the new addition from this section. Any comments from the committee?
If a guy wants to propose to his girlfriend on the beach, does he need a permit?
No, unless there's some.
He wants to put a sign behind it and, the flowers and all that.
No.
I've seen it all the time.
No, something like that wouldn't require a permit. Usually it's based on assembly size. I don't want to speak for our recreation department, but any large temporary structure being set up would typically require a permit, but just a sign and no.
Typically, the weddings will have the permit.
Yeah.
Right.
There is something I've noticed too, where there's companies that set up like a picnic for a couple to come to.
Yes.
And then do the proposition
Yes.
at the picnic that's been set up and elegant,
That's
looks
where
kind of nice.
I had a question on C. This is for public land, and Brandon, I mentioned I was going to bring this up. There are those companies that will do that. Sometimes they'll do it on public land, but sometimes they'll do it on private land. And sometimes they do it on private land without the permission of the landowner. And then you got a trespass issue again. But it's a franchise, and there's also that's for profit doing it. There's also, there's some picnic conversations I'll have in a bit to make clear. But there's also hotels on the east side of the island that then bring chairs to the west side of the island on private property, and it's not a part of their BTR, but they're providing, they're doing the same thing, the hotels that own property, but they're not being regulated in the same way. So there's a couple little nuance areas on the beach that is happening, where they're at. I just ask, we just want to be consistent with any franchise, be it a hotel or a third party that actually rents these things out, that they have a permit to do these things on the beach. And if they're doing it on private property, that's not their property, that they have permission of the property owner.
To make it a violation to do it without the permission of the landowner,
Yes.
put that in a section somewhere.
Good catch.
Yeah, it's just, again, things that have been brought up to me.
No, that's good.
Yeah, there's always new land uses that pop up that
Right.
people are innovative and think of things.
In the property just south of, I live on the beach, I'm blessed, I get to see out, there's a property just left of me, and within that condo structure, there is a cabana hosting business, which looks like a fantastic business, but sometimes they put it out without property, the HOA's approval to provide those services, and they bring third-party people on that are not homeowners or property owners, and that just creates liability issues. So if someone was to trip and fall and get hurt, they're going to sue the cabana company as well as the landowner, and the landowner didn't even know they were there, and they're still in a lawsuit. So it's for liability as well.
Understood. Good catch. Any other comments on this section? Moving on to what will become 95.5 related to picnics, food consumption, and fire pits. No hugely significant changes in this section as far as I'm concerned. This does retain the ability of the city commission, the city manager or designee to authorize building of a temporary beach fire pit. There might be conditions to protect public safety. As currently it has been policy, we may get involved, the nearby property owners, to make sure that it's not adverse to their own interests. And we also have a standard just modifying the violation section to refer to the chapter. Any thoughts?
I have one, but it might not be the right time. But while we're here, you all might remember, sadly, there was a tragedy some years ago. Someone had dug a hole on the beach that was large, and there was an infant child that fell into it and suffocated,
Oh,
passed away.
I did not hear that.
Ralph, do you remember that by any chance?
I don't remember that specific incident here, but it happens
Didn't
quite a bit. There's when people dig big holes
Yeah.
in the beach,
Yeah.
and the sand and the water that's in the sand colloidal, something happens, and they've had many instances where the kids are trapped in there and then suffocate. So it happens.
Yeah. And it's not just the water intrusion, but, to get technical, the unbalanced backfill, if it's too deep, you got all this, and it's just going to spontaneously fail.
That's why Florida has the Trench Safety Act for people that are digging trenches, but then, there's safety rules for contractors.
There you go.
Kids don't know.
That's
They're 10 years old and they're
Right.
digging trenches without following engineering practices.
Is there anything
So-
throughout this large piece that speaks to that?
We do have, we have a section coming up that says holes on the beach need to be
Okay.
filled in.
Okay.
So I did just want to bring this up. Again, a lot of this was carried forward from the previous ordinance, but previously the picnic section addressed specifically Paso Grill and Upland beaches. We, of course, have Dog Beach. I'm sure the dogs would like picnics on the beach, but does the committee have any thoughts on that? This would extend that to allow.
Well, it's funny you say that because I actually highlighted the word public. Shouldn't that be all those persons having, even on private property, should clean up after themselves?
This section confused, does A say we can't have picnics, but then B says we can have picnics if we clean up after ourselves? Is that how it's supposed to read, or?
That's how, and we can modify this for clarity, but it's effectively saying B lists out the conditions under which you can have a picnic on the beach. And I don't think the intent was to prohibit picnics on private beach. I just don't think this section was intended to regulate them at all. But we can have language in there clarifying that if.
Do we have a definition of picnic anywhere? Because I feel like anyone who goes to the beach with specifically children, or if you're going to be more than a couple hours, you're going to have a bag of chips or some fruit or something to eat.
You might have the whole family and 4 tables under a cabana for all
I
day.
feel like there's another section where it talks about that has to be somewhere where there are, I guess, water closets, like toilets
Yes.
and places. I've noticed on the beach, I feel like it changes a lot, but there are no trash cans. Trash cans are very strangely
It's usually on public
placed.
property.
So they used to be at every crossover in Paso Grill. Now there's none except there's really none. You have to go all the way up to Paradise Grill, almost to the sidewalk to reach a trash can, unless you go up in front of where the restaurant is, which they have signs. If you're not a customer, don't be up here. So, and I know there's a dumpster down where they are doing chair setups. I think at where the other bathroom is at Hurley. I think there's usually a dumpster there, but there's a very sparse section because I pick up trash a lot and I have to carry it sometimes for a while to find. So I guess I'm just worried, people are gonna bring food, so I'm not sure what specifies a picnic, and then they have access to get rid of their trash. Those are the two things I worry
agree.
about.
I mean,
had,
we should allow picnics, but we need to have it, and the way I read this is You only have to clean up after yourself if it's public property, not private property. But I think picnics should be allowed. It's the beach. But you should, since it's zone preservation, you should leave no trace and take it all away with you.
The way it was currently worded, I think we can take out, Brandon, the beginning of A, that first sentence, except as provided in B, no person shall picnic, because in B it says you can do a picnic if you pick up after yourself. And then we probably want to put in here, borrow from the state littering, the litter law, Florida litter law, and make it a violation to litter either on public or private property, wherever the litter winds up. If you're littering on the beach, you should get a citation. That way it's clear that you can have a picnic, but you have to not
Right.
litter.
Leave no trace.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
And
the
then we
picnic
probably
was
want to
key.
leave the second sentence, though, because we, currently, we're not allowing alcoholic beverages on the city beach in St. Pete Beach area.
Nor
Some places do allow it, and some
I
places
think it's,
don't, but here we
nor
don't.
private.
yeah, there's a bigger, right, there's a bigger regulation
Yeah.
outside of city ordinance that doesn't allow it,
Mhm.
I thought.
Alcohol is somewhere else in here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As well as this.
A small thing, somewhere, Brandon, I saw, maybe it was in the park, they didn't want you to use styrofoam or plastic straws. Is that something we should have in here or not?
I have to check the latest state statute on plastic straws
Okay.
and also styrofoam and plastic bags. It's constantly going through the Florida legislature, either allowing or not allowing or preempting. So let me check that.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's cigarette smoking too, is usually part of the state regulations. I've checked the latest on that. Because people leave butts on the beach.
Right.
And my comments still on B, as you have public there, number 2 under there is fire. Again, are we allowed to have fire on a private beach, but not a public beach? And then number 3, glass containers on a public beach, but not a private beach. I believe that we shouldn't have fires anywhere on the beach, just to the fire hazard of the dunes. And 2, glass containers, because they can break and people traverse west of the mean high tide water
Mhm.
line can cut their feet. So I don't think that should be limited to public either.
Okay, all right. We'll definitely bring that forward. As for the beach fire pits, it's not public or private. They're both subject to permitting of the city commission and or city manager. So I believe,
If I read this as picnics and consumption of food are permitted on the public beach, and then under is 2, I would assume that only applies to public beach,
understood.
not
Okay,
all beaches.
got it.
I'm actually probably better off as a C
Separated.
rather than a
I'm
2,
just-
because fire's different than picnic and consumption of food, so you might want
And then
to move that up in the hierarchy to be
And
A,
3
B,
under
C.
and 3 under that is glass. We shouldn't have glass anywhere on there.
That should go like a B2. And then move C to D and D to E. I think we had fire in there under B2 because it was it includes the words cooking of food. But we're really talking about fires for any purpose, so that should be a separate section, C.
You could include, I'm not going to wordsmith. I caught myself, sorry. I was gonna
That's okay.
I was going to say in that, instead, including cooking food. But
Yep, it says
you guys are the
including the
professionals, so I'm
cooking
not
of
gonna
food, yeah.
wordsmith.
Okay.
Making s'mores.
All right, so the input I have so far is to remove A, as it's confusing. Picnics are allowed on both the public and private beaches. Everybody needs to clean up after themselves. That needs to be clarified. Add reference to the Florida litter law to justify the public cleanup requirement. Clarify that fire pits without a permit are prohibited for both public and private beaches. We'll look into whether there can be restrictions on styrofoam and plastic straws. Glass is prohibited on both the public and private beaches. Does that cover? Okay.
And not to be buzzkill here, belabor the point, but, and I personally, I think it's wonderful, I enjoy it. Occasionally there's some folks that come out with batons that are lit with flame on both
It's a
ends.
fire.
And they, I mean, yeah, there's a thing burning.
Like no open flames.
I just tossing it out there, I mean, it's just.
I'd be afraid they'd miss it, goes in the dune, catches on fire.
Yeah,
On a dry
exactly,
period,
yeah.
boom.
I mean,
All the
when I
all the
see
dry
it,
vegetation is now gone.
when I see it, they're down by the water doing it, which is obviously not a problem, but if they're doing it close to your point, John,
Yeah.
that was my thought, was,
Protect the dunes,
yeah, so.
the seawalls of the west.
Is this just like a private person that comes out just in practice, or?
I've seen, an individual, I've seen groups of folks, individuals doing it as a group. I see it at Upham, because that's usually where I start walking on, and it's nice, it's captivating, and the folks enjoy it.
It'd be like a permit though for, we can get
I
permits for
don't,
it?
it's,
Permit to
didn't-
be out there?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked whether I
They
should,
miss and hit a kid that's watching and captivated, and they
Yeah.
burn 'em.
yeah,
What happens?
but, while we're here talking about
Yeah.
this, just toss it out there, so.
Surely not. Surely that couldn't happen.
And as an overall statement, I'll go back to what I said last meeting, if there are best practices that we can borrow from other municipalities from.
Key West has the Sunset Mallory, which is like a sunset celebration at Mallory Square, and they have flame people, jugglers, tightrope walkers, people who do all three things at the same time. I don't know if you
Beach
have,
on the
They're
square.
on the-
I don't know if you have anything.
They're probably drinking while they're doing it too, right?
I will work for shots.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything like that in Paso Grill or any part of St. Pete Beach. Do you have
There's
like
the
a
annual
suns?
Paso Grill bonfire, but they get a permit, a special events permit.
Okay.
It's with the fire department that they're there to protect anything from spreading. But
Okay.
it's done through a special event permit, which I
Randy,
think that's fine.
To-
That if you have the fire, it's
Yeah.
gone through a process and it's planned for, but somebody just,
maybe just for the sake of brevity and keep things simple, maybe something along the lines of, open or uncontrolled flame or,
open flame.
open flame.
Open flames
I
in
mean,
dry sand area, something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover here, and
That also can cover cigarettes too, the whole open flame thing. If you have a
Cigarettes are
blanket,
banned. It's
I
only
mean, though, yeah, but
unfiltered cigars.
you can go back to no flame, I don't know.
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we have a
cigarettes are-
special section on cigarettes and cigars.
I don't think we have to come up with an answer right now,
They're the-
but I
they're
think
the
we can
experts.
toss out,
No,
right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. All right, talking about tiki or cheeky huts. So this is a consolidation of two sections of code. One is in the Code of Ordinances, Section 9471. One is in the Land Development Code. Due to the age of some of these regulations, the Land Development Code actually used to be in the Code of Ordinances decades ago. There are still references to the Land Development Code which are no longer present. So I did not intend any significant modifications for this. I just thought it was more appropriate to move this all into one section, so this consolidates regulations pertaining to both. I did want to point out, because I did ask Member Kurzman for some clarification on a comment he had on this, and he did state that based on what was written, it's being read as it's either adding a new restriction on business, if we're adding restrictions to cheeky huts that we did not have before, or we would be adding a new capability, which does not seem to make sense if we're holding off on commercial interest issues. The intent with this was to draft it to allow for cheeky huts, which are exempt from the Florida Building Code. They're built by the Miccosukee tribe in Florida, and they're only allowed certain features, certain material specifications, but they are exempt from the Florida Building Code, but they're still subject to city zoning regulation. The intent was to just regulate them the same as tiki huts. They're still only allowed to be on the beach if in tandem with a licensed commercial water sport business. It still meets the regulatory standards of the code. The real intent with this was to just bring them and treat them the same, and to consolidate these two sections, because it's confusing and it's difficult to regulate having different codes, saying different things. So happy to take any comments on this consolidated section 95.6.
Any comments? No. Any comments?
So Brandon, these are the existing requirements. We're not changing the existing requirements, right?
The only change was specifically, and I have no issue including this back in, but the bottom of the page, Stricken's item A, it does go into a little bit more detail that they can't have utility services, they can't serve food or drinks, they can't be used for any service other than commercial water sports operations. Earlier in this section, under C, it does specify that it's only for commercial water sports businesses, but
Will 98-67 remain in the code after we do the beach ordinance? The one you're striking at the very end, 98-67? No, sorry, sorry. And you're going to look for it. But see where you've stricken it from the last D, the last part.
the section in the land development code will be eliminated.
Okay.
That will be consolidated. Those.
If that's eliminated, then you got to take that part out, so that has to remain strike through.
Okay.
My only comment that I highlighted is, I like that has written approval from the property owner, which I think is important.
Okay.
And that's in the existing code.
Yes. Anything else? This is just all renumbering of the land development code as the section is being stricken. None of the other following sections in the coastal conservation requirements are being changed.
I have one, in that those are just numbered, you didn't include the text of them.
Correct. There's no changes to any of the content in any of those sections.
So I have one on the permit required under dune preservation, and it's just, I've tripped into this many years ago, is can we get more specific on maintenance? The city requires a permit for maintenance in the dune, being trimming, removing invasive species, which I am fine for. The confusion part of it is the Florida Department of Environmental Protection does not require west of the CCCL for maintenance. So some people assume, and I was one of them way back when, that, oh, I don't need one. Look, the state doesn't need one. So I went it and I had a conversation with code enforcement. We were doing all the right things and it got handled. But it's the language that's under there. It says improve. It doesn't say specifically maintenance.
Okay.
I only bring it up as I tripped over it. So if we could make that more clear, that
Absolutely.
Brandon, it might be also helpful to actually put, even though we're not changing that language, to put that language in there, because it does help the city commission understand what is required under these sections for dune preservation, development, permit required, permitting procedures. Just repeat the language without any strike-throughs, just so everyone knows what those criteria are.
Yeah.
And I like that
And then
you
add
added
the
the
maintenance.
definition of a dune, because before this, there wasn't a definition of a dune. Then people can get into the debate of, is a dune the CCCL seaward, and anything east of it not? The way it's worded now, it's from ocean till concrete, is the way I read it, which I think is fine.
Okay. All right, moving on to 95.7, just adding in content that there might be other situations in which the city would be able to authorize a temporary structure that doesn't fall under this specific article. The city has certain emergency powers. I can't think through an example, but there might be a situation in which there could be a temporary structure on the beach that would be covered under an emergency power that wouldn't necessarily be covered under this article. Any concerns with that? Okay. This is getting into what we talked about previously with the definition of micromobility device. Obviously, there's currently a prohibition on vehicles. Bikes are not considered, they have the same rights as, but micromobility devices are distinct. So this would prohibit riding any electrical or non-electrical bicycle on the beach unless a vehicle on the beach permit has been provided under this section. Any emergency or law enforcement is exempt. So
So the way this is written, if I have my e-bike, could I go through the permit process? That's not, is that the intent of this or not? Because we don't allow bikes today. This allows the ability to get a permit in B, but if you look at the intent, the criteria, it's hard for me as a private bike owner to get 1, 2, 3, 4 as a permit because I don't meet any of those criterias.
right.
Instead of adding the bicycle into that sentence, I think we should put the bicycle in a separate sentence. Because the intent was to give vehicles on the beach permits for vehicles, real vehicles, and then we'll have a separate sentence for the bicycles. It just,
Or can you just,
Prohibits
because I
them.
think we agreed not to have,
I think the earlier discussion was not to allow permits for electric bikes
or bikes.
Bikes,
or
period.
bicycles, yeah. So I would make a separate sentence in light of the earlier discussion.
So that would leave in the content as currently adopted. Vehicle on the beach permit is required to operate a vehicle on the beach. Bicycles, non-electric and electric, would be prohibited from the
As
beach.
well as other
Just
micromobility.
Other micromobility.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I know, I'll speak to our missing colleague here. I know he is a proponent for bikes on the beach, but we did talk about it as a group. I just want to recognize Vice Chair. Though he's not here, I know he would be speaking.
And when you do that, Brendan, we can cross-reference back to the section about the micro-mobility.
Okay.
So that way, when code enforcement is issuing a citation, they just have to cite to that one section of the code instead of really like two sections.
And as I think we discussed, electric wheelchairs, those types of things, however you need to do it, which should be allowed.
Yes. I think we're laying back to the definition of micromobility, which does exempt those from the regulatory standards. Okay.
Or, so maybe a separate section would be if we're just relying on a definition and want somewhere where code can point to when they write the citation that says you're in violation.
Just as a quick aside while we're together here, I don't know this. Are there other beach municipalities that allow bicycles and such on the beach now?
On the East Coast, they allow cars.
Gulf beaches, Pinellas County Gulf beaches.
I feel like Siesta Key, they're not allowed. There's so many reasons we go back and forth. We have turtle nesting season. There's
Right.
lots of different reasons why you don't allow them. But when you have not a super deep beach and lots of people, they're just a hazard. In my opinion. But
I'm asking. I'm wondering if we're the outlier or if we're.
I think most places don't allow them.
they become a hazard.
Now, Sanibel, they don't allow them.
Right. Yeah.
And
Some places that are so,
Either way, I still feel the same way.
some places
about it.
that are so remote allow them, like Cumberland Island, Georgia, where you have to take a boat to get out there, and there might be 5 people on 10 miles.
Thank you.
The remainder of this section goes into detail, and this was really just a carry forward. This was drafted by the former city attorney. I don't know if there's some prohibition on collection of bonds for vehicle on the beach permits, or if it was just determined that we don't collect bonds. I know that we do collecting insurance for entities that are maintaining vehicles on the beach, so that's effectively what Section D is stating. And F just defines safe operation as 10 miles per hour or any other regulation later established in the Land Development Code. We do retain commercial accessory structure regulations in the Land Development Code. This just defers back to that. It's 10 miles per hour independent of any other change. It's just keeping that cross-reference between the sections. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the insurance is because you typically get insurance for your car rather than a bond for your car.
I think today it's turtle trackers, the city, the fire department, and the police.
And vendors.
The dawn
Oh,
goes
vendors,
between.
yes.
On the-
They
yes.
go between
Some
their two
hotels-
properties.
That would be through their BTR that they get that
They
Well,
get-
portion?
You
Yes.
got,
Or, and get a permit through that?
Yes.
you got beach service vendors.
Mhm.
Be they lounge chairs, cabanas, or tiki hut setups with
Do they have
paint
vehicles?
coolers and
Got those 4x4s.
And
that they bust up with.
the folks that set up the weddings, sometimes they're
Oh,
vans, sometimes they're pull carts.
Mhm.
It varies.
I've never seen them. I thought they did it by hand, but okay.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, but yeah. Like,
Okay.
the point being, they're vendors.
All right, this is another section that's effectively brought forward wholesale on beach maintenance regulations. This addresses mechanical beach cleaning, but Chair, to your point, this might be a good place to also back reference any kind of trimming or other kind of dune maintenance regulations, just to have a reference to the other section if someone looks here.
Right.
Any concerns with adding that?
Would be helpful.
Okay. This continues on. Again, it's just moving another section forward to keep it all under beach maintenance regulations. It's our current regulations pertaining to distance from the frontward toe of the dune and some of the other regulations. Again, it's just to carry forward. Any thoughts?
Any comments?
Mhm.
No?
Can I go back to the beach maintenance?
Yes.
I know we're gonna have a different meeting about the turtle, like turtle protection, turtle regulations. I know there's a statement somewhere in there where it talks about not raking the sand until after, I guess, is that the sunrise sunset thing? Like the beach, the turtle people have to come through before they're able to rake. Does that need to be mentioned at all under beach maintenance, or should, I mean, it's like two separate categories, but,
I know by practice they do.
I think we have in 5D,
well, I'm just, I mean, if a hotel
Here,
goes
right
out
there.
and rakes every morning.
5D.
Where's 5D? On down. Okay, I didn't see that. That's a different side. Okay, all right. Just haven't gotten there yet.
It was on the next page.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, never mind. I just thought
it's a
we're-
good point.
Well, we were in this 95.9.
yeah, we want people to realize that are
Okay.
looking at it. So we have 5D
Okay.
for the sea turtle season between
Okay, so this
May
is all
1.
struck through here. Okay.
Allows it only to the high tide mark or debris line were permitted by DEP.
Okay, here it is. Okay, see it.
I mean, to be complete, you might also add bird nesting season, which happens to also be there, but to include our Audubon friends,
That's a good idea.
just to know that we haven't forgot about them.
Good idea.
I'm surprised
Turtle nesting
one of them is
season
not
and
here,
bird
'cause
nesting
she's usually
season.
here.
That would be again through May 1 through October 31.
I believe that to be true.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So moving on to alcohol. So I'll just summarize the changes as I scroll down.
Could you give us, before the changes, just the intent? It's
Yeah, so
no alcohol on the beach, public or private, unless you get a specific set of permits.
correct. So on the public beach, it would be permitted with a special event permit only. On the private beach, it would be permitted with a cabana alcohol service area permit, which would be a daily establishment, or with a special event permit, which would not apply specifically to resorts. The changes here are intended for clarity, just to break up, as you know, starting at the very beginning of the section. It's really just intended to classify out the section references by what I just stated. So public streets, public sidewalks, city parks, they can only have alcoholic beverage service through a special event permit. Public beach lands and private sand beach areas are regulated in Chapter 95. We do regulate alcohol generally in Chapter 6, and that is being retained. That's where this content is found, but it pushes off the beach regulations to Chapter 95. So someone reading the alcohol chapter will know to look in Chapter 95 for the beach regulations. It is still prohibited to drink or consume alcoholic beverages upon submerged land. That is not a change. It's just putting it off to its own item, so it's not confused with any of the other regulatory language.
I just had one question, if you could help me interpret. It's number B2, all private sand beach areas upland of the Gulf and adjacent to private property. Just, what does that, I get the upland of the Gulf, so that's the mean high tide or water up to concrete. But, and adjacent to private property, what, I just didn't understand why that was there. Or is it something that was written before?
That's another carryover. I don't want to cover every situation because I'm not 100% sure. There could be a situation in which we have a public piece of land where the beach behind it is under private ownership. I don't know of that to be the case, but I can't think of any other reason that would have been drafted. But that is a direct carryover.
Not asking you to change, I just
No.
didn't know. Okay. Any other questions on that section?
Again, looking at containers, no real change here. Again, it's an open container that would be a violation where the seal's been broken, the pop top has been opened or removed. This is just being changed to refer to the modified section references, not to change any of the actual content. And again, it refers to Chapter 95 of the code. And getting down here into E, this is again going through the permitting requirements. This is specific to special event permits on non-beach lands that are public. It goes through the regulations, which would be approval of a special event permit. That would be block parties and so on. And we also allow for conditional use permits, and this is something that's regulated through the Land Development Code. So again, just updates to the section references. Their sidewalk dining and drinking, for example, where permitted as a permanent establishment, can be authorized through City Commission conditional use permit approval. So this retains that that permission. And we will get into the beach alcohol regulations in just a little bit, but this is just cleanup of Chapter 6 to prepare Chapter 95 for the receiving regulations. Any comments?
Any comments?
All right, so this is a consolidated section. It includes alcohol on the beach. It also includes smoking and starting of fires. Starting with alcohol. As mentioned, I'll just start from the top. All public beach lands, except those that are approved through this section reference, which is the special event permitting process. I'll get to that in a moment. It's also prohibited on private beach lands, except as approved through the cabana alcohol service permitting process or special events. This is another carry forward. Again, an open container of alcoholic beverage is prohibited unless it's within the sections previously referenced. This is another carry forward. There was some additional language added in here just stating that signs need to be oriented toward anyone accessing the beach from a parking lot or a walkover, otherwise stating that these regulations exist. We have signs on our walkovers. We'll have some new walkovers being created soon, one with the Miramar Beach Resort and potentially other future developments where these signs would just be boilerplate standard language giving these references. This is a carry forward from a draft. We do not currently have this in our regulations. This is the most recent reference as of last summer, so I might need to check with the city attorney after this meeting to make sure it is the most up to date. But at the time, the statute that was created allowed for cities to prohibit smoking on the beach except for unfiltered cigars. We cannot prohibit unfiltered cigars on the beach, but cigarettes can be prohibited. And that would be on any public park or public beach within the city. So that would be specific to the public beach.
I think that's still the same.
Okay. Yes.
Why can we not regulate unfiltered cigars?
That was just an exemption that made it into the statute. I don't know.
Florida legislature preempted us because they were lobbied by
The
tobacco.
cigar lobby.
I mean, I guess I just feel
They
if
smoke a lot of cigars in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
trying to prevent flame on the beach that could start a fire
Right.
in the dune, a cigar, I mean, I see cigar butts washed up quite often.
I do
I
too.
think that they argued that the filters last for 100,000 years,
Yeah.
where the cigar tobacco eventually breaks down.
So why not unfiltered, I'm playing devil's, why not unfiltered cigarettes too?
Yeah.
That didn't
Vis-à-vis,
make their law, so we don't even.
Well,
yeah, that's another topic, right? So-
vapes don't even actually have a flame, right? Like the little cartridge thing?
No, the
It's like the
unfiltered cigarette.
No, but I'm
American-
saying,
American
I guess, I'm
Spirit.
going back to the open flame issue, like,
Mhm.
cigars are an open flame issue, vape cartridges aren't,
Oh.
correct? Like, I guess I'm
You
just kind of,
switch- You switch topics.
well, I'm just
Okay.
looking at like the
Is vaping
reason,
allowed?
it
The
was
open
listed as,
flame, they don't consider that to be the smoking devices. That's more the juggling and the fire pits.
the cigarettes can start fires.
Right.
That's true.
That's a good question. We can look into whether vaping's prohibited. I don't know.
We don't want to push too hard in the preemptions or we'll lose our state funding.
I'm just curious, it just seems like a male-dominated sport, so I'm just curious.
I don't appreciate cigars either.
Curiosity is a good thing.
It is what it is.
You can smell
We
them so
discussed this a
so
couple
far
times.
away. You know?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are
In
pungent.
previous reviews of this, we've had the same conversation about cigars, and
Yeah.
I noticed no one
The-
asked
the
before,
city-
so I
the
figured I
city
was
attorney
the
said
only one unaware of
it's
the
a
reason.
state law, you can't touch it. So
Okay.
it is what it is. And
I will ask though, if we can have a specific carve out for vape, if we can prohibit vaping, would the committee like for vaping to also be prohibited?
I thought it was listed under smoking, wasn't it? Was it not?
What would be the rationale behind prohibiting vaping?
I don't know, I thought I saw it written somewhere. Sorry, maybe I made that up.
What, why would we want to prohibit
I don't know.
vaping?
It does. I'm sorry. It is under the definition. We
they
carry
have
that
the little
forward.
cartridges that they throw down. And
Oh, trash.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy that.
It's somehow gotten lumped in with.
Same as a filter that lasts for 100,000 years. It's plastic and you easily just, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. And this is similar language under E that we will likely bring forward into the previous section, might even just reference it. Starting and maintaining of fires and open flames in the public beach, we will extend that to include the private beach as well. Just remove public on the beach is prohibited.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay, so getting down into what is the cabana service area regulations. There were a few items, this obviously was subject to significant comment at some of the city commission hearings for this request, and it's now been broken up into multiple ordinances. We did not intend to introduce anything more restrictive as it pertains to the cabana service areas here, but I will go through the changes. Again, there's just some renumbering here. There seemed to be consensus at the commission hearings that the requirement that a wristband be provided be waived. That was looked at as prohibiting residents and other guests who aren't necessarily staying at the resort, but who might want to become patrons of the area from being in that area. So that's one of the requirements that was proposed to be removed, and similarly going down to the restriction that it only be for patrons or registered members of the transient lodging facility. There's no requirement to check in. This would allow for the cabana service area holders to regulate those areas as they see fit in terms of letting people in terms of availability. So those are the two items that there seemed to be consensus on striking at this point in time. Does the committee have any issue with that?
My concern of the wristbands, they use the paper wristbands and they rip them off and throw them on the beach and you have trash. So that. And I'm a local that walks the beach, and it'd be great to be able to go up and have a drink where we're allowed to, or a meal where we're allowed to have a meal.
Great. Going on into 9, service of alcohol shall only be within the distinguished area. We do currently require boundary markers. We just put in clarification of what code enforcement wants to see for those boundary markers. There was a comment brought up in an earlier email about there needing to be some kind of roped off area. That's not in here, and it's not intended. It's just boundary markers at the corner to show that they meet the setback requirements for their cabana service area. And we did ask that they be a contrasting color with the sand and have the signage facing inward.
Rope would then turn into a rope and post, and then you'd have to get a permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. I'm personally okay with just posts with signs, so it's visually, you can visually manage it.
In 10, can we change our water closets to restrooms?
Yes, so that section is just, and it's not an additional regulation. This is a Florida Building Code requirement, but it's just to make it clear that when they come in for the renewal notices or for the establishment of a new cabana service area, there is a building code requirement that they have a certain number of restrooms. We'll change that term to make it more clear.
Is in the building code called water closet or restrooms? Just, I would say be
Water.
consistent.
It's water closet. I had to look it up.
Yeah, I believe
Because
it
it
is.
specifies a water closet has plumbing separate from like a porta potty. Like, there's actually plumbing in a water closet, according to
Let's
building
check with
code.
Luke and make sure we get the right terminology.
I was like, why are we using this term? What does it even mean? Like, I know what it is, but why do we use this word?
Over in Europe, they're water closets.
WC.
But
We'll check with the building official, make sure we
Just make sure.
correspond to the Florida Building Code, so we're not
Yeah.
adding any new
it referenced
new
Florida Building
requirements.
Code was the reason we,
Okay.
that's what Google said.
All right, and then the penalties are unchanged. Obviously, there were much more substantive modifications to the section that have been proposed. We may address that in the future, but as it stands, these are the only modifications that we're proposing to cabana service areas. Any comments? Okay. So we're moving on to a new subsection, and this is effectively just relocating language pertaining to special event approval. The regulations are effectively the same as what we currently have. They're just consolidated into one section that is referenced from Chapter 8 into Chapter 95. Those who own private sand beach areas can obtain a special event permit for the consumption of alcoholic beverages for special occasions. It currently limits them to 3 permits per month. Through the special event process, they show an on-site map showing where that alcohol is going to be served, and it's confined to the permitted area. Permit shall not authorize consumption before 8 a.m. and shall terminate no later than 10 p.m. Again, that's another carry forward. There was a comment about just inconsistencies in different regulations. That's more in line with our noise ordinance, but it doesn't match up perfectly. So I'm not sure why those hours were selected. But obviously that's much more permissive than sunrise to sunset, at least in terms of the nighttime. So I didn't want to restrict that much more than it already is. Any thoughts in the committee?
On 2, you were talking about 2, correct?
Yes, yes.
And this came up before, and I just noted it when I was reading this, is upland owner, is that clear, or does that need to be defined? Is the upland owner the owner of the beach, or is the upland owner the adjacent property upland of the beach?
Maybe we say the private property owner. We'll look at that and wordsmith it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we mentioned it before, and like,
The 10 p.m. cutoff, because it's also mentioned in the cabana service. I feel like I know when I've been to hotels along the beach, they stop their service at sundown. They actually stop it before because of turtle regulations. So 10 o'clock is quite a bit after sundown, majority, almost all year round, pretty much, except for like middle of the summer. So I feel like 10 o'clock maybe, I don't know if there's a reason why it's 10, just give them time to like clean up stuff. I don't know if that's, but if they're gonna have lighting, then they're gonna be outside of the turtle regulations
Mm-hmm.
certain times of the year, so.
Right, and we would address that through the permitting requirement. Outside of season, it might allow them to go later, but
Yeah.
it's.
I don't know. I just know a lot of the places they shut down way before
Mhm.
sundown, like usually like 8.
All right. No significant changes in what is being brought forward as section 9511, dogs on beaches. These are all regulations that I believe were included in very early drafts of the beach ordinance amendments. Effectively, it's just being brought forward. This is one of those sections where it was a bit confusing as presented previously because it looked like there were significant additional regulations being brought in. But this is just a modification of what is currently codified, showing the strike through and underline. Any comments? And then just clarifying the service animal exemption.
Brandon, we may want to double or cross-reference the service animal definitions from state statutes. I think in that other definition, we rewrote it, but there and here, maybe cross-reference the state statute. I can help you find that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to,
moving on,
yes.
moving on an hour and a half, everyone okay? Anybody need a break? I'm okay to keep going, I just want it to be conscious. Okay,
Okay, moving on to section 9512, distribution of handbills or other advertising. This is just a carry forward from the commercial solicitation regulations. Effectively, it prohibits dumping of advertising material on the beach. Any comments?
No.
So, Section 9513 addresses fishing on the beach. Fishing can only be prohibited, to my recollection, from certain bridges when posted and when it is a public endangerment. So this would only extend to those situations. This is a carry forward from an early draft of the beach ordinance. And again, fishing would be prohibited when the public is being endangered.
Yeah, typically FWC preempts us from regulating except on piers. But we do want the ability to say if someone's out surf casting into a crowd of people with a sinker that big and hooks, that we can tell them, move down the beach. Don't do it here. I personally pulled hooks out of people's feet, my daughter included. So,
In a previous meeting, and Dan, keep me honest here, we talked about shark fishing and chumming, and
the FWC controls all that stuff.
There
They
was-
preempt you from,
when we talked about it, I was led to believe that we could prevent the chopping up and chumming. There was something I thought we could do.
This
Do you remember that?
And I think that's, if you're shark fishing, you have to have a permit. And I think it's clear in there that you can't do that. But they had some people that were actually, I think, using drones to take some of their chum out, and it seemed like that was over the top, really.
There's also, someone found a hatchet in some
Yes.
rays, and they chopped it
Yeah.
up on the beach, and all of that, and there was something there. I don't know if there's something we could add.
maybe there's something we
No
can add on
chumming
that.
on
Let me see if I can find
They
an
literally
area.
left their because they were doing it at night. They left their hatchet, they left all of these carcasses
Yep.
on the
Let's
beach.
see if we can address carcasses and,
It was
chumming.
I walked past it,
And it was specific to shark fishing.
yes, it was shark
Yeah.
fish.
That had been an earlier draft of this ordinance, and it was removed at some point. I don't know why, but we'll look into
probably
it. so.
FWC, but we'll check it.
Mhm.
That came up in a conversation before.
Okay. Any other comments?
I know there's concerns in Southwest Florida regarding shark fishing from folks that provide a service, and they'll set up half a dozen rigs with reels the size of footballs.
Yep.
And they'll do it 6 to 8 rods and reels. And someone pays for the right to have that done, and if they get a fish or a shark on the line, it's almost,
They've done it on St. Pete Beach.
oh yeah.
Yes,
Pass a grill. Yep.
and Passagro.
So, is that a problem here? Are we do we have concern about that here?
Absolutely, but I don't know if we can do anything about it.
I'll look into that. I know,
I
I
think that's
looked in,
when they were chumming and cutting that up, I think that's what they were doing.
I think, yeah, that's what brought it to mind. I think the distinction would be personal versus commercial. In my mind, that's the way if you're
a charter,
a charter,
land-based charter.
yes, sir.
Wouldn't you need to have a permit to do that on any land? Permission, not to say you can't do it, but if they're doing it on public beach, like Passagro, that would be a vendor coming in and doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me
I
look
would-
into the FWC charter rules, if you have to be on a boat. if
So usually it's a
land.
vessel, like, as far as how many, it's usually vessel regulated, but I
Mhm.
don't know about beach.
Yeah, good question.
I think it's been an issue in other cities too, so Fort Myers Beach, I think, has dealt with it. I will take a look at it.
Marco Island.
Council there too, yeah.
You can look at Marco Island.
Marco, okay.
Okay. Moving on to section 9514, feeding, harassing of wild birds, sea turtles, and manatees is prohibited. It effectively creates the ability for our own code enforcement staff to prohibit harassment, killing, capture, and so on of endangered and threatened shorebird and seabird species, as well as sea turtles and manatees. Any comments?
I think it's great.
We already prohibit retail sales on the beach, and this is really more of a use regulation and an extension of that retail sales prohibition that we have on the use of fireworks on the beach. This is not preempting the city commission from having a process in place to allow for fireworks on the beach. It just prohibits them outright, independent of city commission authorization.
I asked the question of why fireworks at all ever for the pollution and environmental. Firework goes up, the dunes are dry, goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the permit, the dunes would burn and be gone. So I would ask the question of why would we ever allow fireworks on our beach? The city has moved its fireworks over to the park,
Mhm.
I think over here. Why would we ever allow a special permit for fireworks? I pose that to the
totally
committee
agree
to
with
see.
In fact, it's probably been 10 years ago, there was a fire started up in Paso Grill and I think it was just sparklers. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's real. And, I mean, the state, it says you can only have fireworks on 4th of July and New Year's Eve, right? So,
So I would suggest we modify it to say no fireworks on the beach ever by anyone.
well,
And I love fireworks, right? I'm not trying to be the 4th of July, Scrooge. It's just, why would we? I know one hotel from time to time gets a permit and puts
Right.
fireworks on the beach.
Yep.
That's the only one I know that has done it, the trade winds. And
I think they do it for weddings.
right,
Mhm. Okay.
I, does, I,
We'll take a look at this Florida statute.
No fireworks on the beach for pollution, the pollution that it leaves onto the sand, that animals will get into, as well as the fire hazard. That's my,
What's the current status? What are we doing now?
only
Permits.
by commission approval. And I would suggest taking that away, and it would just be, no. Now, they could overrule us, but we as a committee could recommend no fireworks on the beach.
I asked you to lean forward.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
I'm trying, this is kind of workshop-ish. I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
it would be great if we had a table and we could look at each other, but
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
So you've asked the question, I just want to be clear on what is this limited to individuals or?
You would have to go, currently, you have to go through a special event permit that would go through the commission to get approval for fireworks.
I mean, if I'm, Bob and my wife, Mary, and our 2 kids are going out to the beach and we got,
You can't do that.
a bag of fireworks,
That's
as it
that's
stands
prohibited.
right now,
Correct,
you're not supposed to do that,
correct,
correct?
correct.
Okay,
You can only do it through a special event permit
okay,
that would be approved by the commission.
okay.
I'm asking, should there ever be fireworks allowed on the beach?
Well,
I
what-
contend no.
What if the city wants to pay a vendor, or if or one of the hoteliers wants to pay a vendor and have a fireworks display? Are you suggesting that not happen?
Correct.
Okay.
Currently, they can
Right.
through a
There's a
special,
way to do it.
right,
What you're saying is
why? No,
we should not have a way to do it. We should
Correct.
just outright ban all fireworks on the beach.
yes. That's my,
Yep.
I don't know, again, I have a strong feeling of this.
Yeah, I know you do, and I do too, and I tend to agree with you, but I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that that's going to make consensus to get passed. It's just not going to happen.
But
It's-
what's our job is what's our consensus, and then.
What's good for the beach is our job.
Yeah,
If that's the criteria, then I agree.
being beach stewardship.
Yeah,
I think it's best for the beach, no fireworks ever.
yeah.
I agree.
Agreed.
All right.
Again, the commission can change
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We're giving I know vice chair's not here, but 4 out of 5 are saying no fireworks on the beach ever.
Okay. All right. We'll get that changed. And
We
city-
can certainly make our thoughts public
We just
and
did.
known. We just did, so.
This is public.
Mhm.
And
And
ultimately,
as long
this
as in the context that we framed, right?
Mhm.
Then I think,
pollution
Yeah.
and fire hazard.
yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, we've moved them off of the beach for 4th of July because of the skimmers, but there are numerous hotels that still do them, and I mean, still,
Well,
noise is.
Yeah, and not to belabor this, but there were occasions years ago where the city hired vendors that launched fireworks off barges, right?
Yeah.
So while that does not obviously contain the pollution concern, it does the fire concern. And it also provides for a lackluster showing fireworks.
The city has since moved to Hurley, is it Hurley Park that they do? Horan Park? Park?
Yeah, yeah.
So they've
And
already
that
made
seems
their
to
change.
be, yeah, so. All right, fair enough.
We'll get that changed. All right, looking down at 9516, and this, I believe, is probably my own oversight because this is written a little bit differently from the other section, even compared to what we would modify it to. I just want to make sure board consensus prohibiting that this language on the public beach is what is prohibited. Micromobility devices being written on the public beach would be prohibited. So I'll change that to address that in this section.
Well, this says prohibited on any beach within the city, not just public, which I think we already agreed to that.
Okay.
No micro mobility devices.
At all? Okay. All right.
And again, I acknowledge Vice Chair is not here and he would be dissenting, but I think we have agreement.
John, I would like to take you up on your earlier offer on a 5-minute break, if you don't mind.
Sounds
That'd
good.
be great.
Okay.
And then we will continue on to 95.17.
17, right?
So be back at 10:50. We'll give 9 minutes.
All
10:50.
right.
Do I need the gavel? vending on the beach.
So this is another carry forward from our vending, commercial solicitation ordinance. Really no change to the regulations with the exception of C, which is just referencing back to regulations to solicitation on the private beach. We do not allow for commercial solicitation on the public beach except in tandem with a special event permit, and that would remain. Any thoughts?
Sounds
No.
Okay. Moving on, this is amending out section 6259 to accommodate the prior section and just making that reference to 9518 to give that cross-reference and that indication to move on to the other section of the code.
Again, as I've been somewhat consistent in the section, is just making sure that there is permission from the property owner. Sometimes this happens, a third party comes in on private property.
Understood. Okay.
And it's reinforced with F, the business or property owner shall be responsible, but if the property owner is not aware, or is not given permission, how can they be responsible?
Understood. Any other comments on this modification? Okay, moving on to what is a transference of section 44.3 of the Land Development Code to create 9519. This is prohibition of activities disruptive to marine turtles. And I will say, one of the comments from member Kurzman was that the section would be disjointed because you have other regulations in the marine turtle section of the Land Development Code, but this would be separate from that. I believe the intent is, especially if we're going to be moving both this and the marine turtle lighting standards together, is that there would be a cross-reference. Perhaps instead of striking this section entirely, I can leave it in with a reference to that. I'm not, at this point in time, sure whether the Code of Ordinances or the Land Development Code will be the location of the marine turtle lighting standards. Obviously, we would just take the entire chapter out if we were to move it over to the Code of Ordinances. We have to be mindful of Senate Bill 180, which limits land development regulations, and that's not necessarily code location, it's more the regulations themselves, but we do need to be mindful of that. But
I think with regard to that, before you leave the Senate Bill 180, because of that, we want to leave what we have in place.
okay,
Because we may not be able to do certain things. We want to make sure what we have as a baseline, as a background, is there for us to utilize if we need it.
so in that case, perhaps this language will stay the same, but this will be left in the Land Development Code. We will keep section 9519 as created, but this language will remain in the Land Development Code. There will be a reference in 9519, same title, to the section in the Land Development Code.
I think that would be fine.
And coming down here, oh, sorry, go ahead.
3, I don't have my glasses on, 3E, when preparing to leave. Second line, in any other objects created. Is a sandcastle an object?
Yes, it is.
That was the intent, I think.
If I'm asking that question,
Yeah.
there's a high degree of likelihood that other people aren't saying it.
Right. And just a
Clarity?
30 seconds.
And sculptures, maybe say.
there's a woman in Treasure Island, she took this picture of a really beautiful sandcastle somebody made,
Right.
and she took it down. Next day, eggs were there. So
No
yeah,
kidding.
you should definitely take them down.
That's a good story.
It is,
Yeah,
and it's validated with pictures.
good job.
All right, we'll add that in.
This might be, yeah. It's also related to filling in the holes because of children getting
Right.
sucked into the
Right.
sand.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to tabulate 1, 2, and 3, because those are actually under D. It's not 3E, it's just E. There's a D, 1, 2, and 3. Just tab them in.
Thank you. I will say for F, guidance from the state has been to limit treatment to 30%. I believe 45% will be left here because that is the regulation we've been enforcing up to this point. But should the amendments to the marine turtle lighting ordinance take effect, moving forward, the requirement would be 30%, but this would be respect for those that have already complied with the ordinance, so it'll be a 45% occlusion.
And then, not to pick nits, but while we're here, 3G, no person shall disturb, or permitted service animal, dog.
I think in
I
the
mean,
dog, it was listed,
Is that on the dog section? Obviously, we don't want dogs to disturb sea turtle nests.
Yep, I think it should be in the dog section. We should try to put it in there. That's 9511.
Okay.
Should not allow your dogs to disturb sea turtles or nesting birds.
So we have remain out of dune vegetation or other protected areas. We could just clarify that to also mean
right?
mm-hmm. turtles.
Sea turtles, nesting birds.
So for this section, it's for the entire beach, correct?
Yes.
E, when preparing to leave the beachgoers should fill any holes on chairs, umbrellas, toys. And I don't want to cross over into the other part of the ordinance that'll come at a future date about resort chairs, umbrellas. Is this,
This is separate and apart from that. This is just beachgoers.
okay,
Mhm.
I just want to make sure.
We do currently have a regulation that if it's going to interfere with nesting, we can direct that furniture, those structures, devices to be removed. So this is in keeping with that, and that is beach-wide. That's not just on the public beach, so.
Is it, and I know there's going to be some debate about this, to allow things to stay on the beach and be removed from the beach. And I know, I think in your summary, you had a part of that. As we think about chairs or anything being left on the beach, can we talk about that for a second?
Like a big inflatable slide.
Anything left on the sandy beach during any part of the year.
So I think we do have that regulation earlier in this chapter where at the city's discretion, any furniture left out overnight, structures that are permitted, weren't permitted, without a permit, can be removed by the city. The expectation is that the furniture or the structure be removed by the individual setting it up, but if it's left out overnight and it's a hazard, if it's on the public beach, we can remove it at our discretion, so.
How about private beach?
We weren't addressing that through this series of regulations. We do have that third upcoming ordinance, and that was something that we had discussed, the stacking of chairs overnight and so on. I think that was what we
That'll
were,
be, I don't want to, again, for the rules, I don't want to cross into that because that's not on the agenda. Should we
Good
table
job.
that until then?
Good job.
Thank you.
yeah.
We have Senate Bill 180 concerns about that too, so
Okay,
we may have to postpone that a little bit.
okay. Turtles don't understand property lines.
No.
That's why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother breakout session, I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
Any other comments on that section?
We do have some existing rules on those issues that with varying degrees have been enforced or not enforced in the past, but we're maybe stuck with those existing rules for a little while.
Right. Something to put on the list to revisit when we can.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to section 25.9 of the Land Development Code that is being transferred into the beach ordinance. Become 9520. This is permit or registration required. Based on some of the other comments that we've received so far, talking about dunes here and the requirement to obtain a permit from Florida Department of Environmental Protection in the city, we will have a separate sentence just relaying the requirement to get a maintenance permit through the city only.
Yep, it's actually the same language was before, just making it clear.
And I have a question about the dunes, like the protection. So I know there are some signs out, like if you're on the beach walking towards the dunes, there are some signs that say, stay out of the dunes are protected. Some of them are pretty like sun faded, or some of them have been damaged. Is that something that the city has to buy that signage, or is that something that like FWC or someone who protects the dunes, do they provide the signage for us? Because I feel like and I know Paso Grill, we're recreating that dune environment right now, but I do think we need to kind of establish like more signage. Because a lot of people just kind of think it's like a forest area we can go explore, and they're kind of in there just playing in it.
Especially up at Upham. I think Paso Grill has a lot of rope and post fence that helps. It's not, there's no perfect
Yeah,
answer,
I think
but sign-
south of Paradise Grill, yes, but if you're going the like northern side, I don't think the ropes go very far. But yeah,
maybe-
anyway, just
Maybe we ask to extend those ropes.
yeah, just something I thought we'd mention that I think people just don't get it. So there was a kid in there just chopping down the sea oats Sunday night, and I'm just like, ah. And he was young, he didn't understand, but his adults.
Was he using the same hatchet that the
Yeah.
fishing
He had a
charter
really nice
person was
palmetto that he was, and then when that didn't work, he was yanking them out of the ground. Yeah, he was going for it.
Oh, gosh.
He was on a mission. But, and my husband said, there's a blue sign over there. It's really hard to read. Like, it's really hard to see. And
Unfortunately, when before the rope and post fence there
Yeah,
were
right.
signs and people just don't read the
No,
signs.
I
So that
know.
physical barrier has been,
Yeah.
in my opinion, the best solution.
it is, I agree. I think a physical barrier, while not my favorite to see, it seems to work the best as far as people realizing it's,
Where there's crowds,
Off
a
limits,
rope and post
yeah.
is the best answer.
anyway, I was just curious with
Yeah.
that section, if that was something that we have to buy the signage, or if someone else purchases that, if we can order some of those, I don't
Just
know.
to clarify, yeah, the city does provide
You
that
do, okay.
signage, yep.
Yeah.
All right, no change to the non-exempt activities item. Item C, recreational activities. This is a carry forward from an earlier draft, which is that any organized recreational activity, gives a few example, beach volleyball tournaments, skimboarding or surfing contests conducted on the beach shall be required to obtain the necessary permits through the city manager. These are typically conducted under a special event permit. It's just a reference to those organized recreational activities as being akin to a special event and needing to go through the permitting process. So,
You could add concerts to the listed examples. I've seen more and more concerts on a semi-regular basis at Upham. The mind travel thing and whatnot.
Brandon, can we say necessary special event permits? So they know where to go and look for what type of permit they need? as opposed to a DEP permit or something?
We can. I think the reason for keeping it more general is because a lot of times they'll also need vehicle on the beach permits and so on, but I'll say special event and any other required.
Any other required permits? Okay. For example, vehicles on the beach, even state that so they know they can't bring the vehicles unless they get the permit.
All right. This next item is one of the ones that came up at one of the last commission hearings for the original consolidated beach ordinance, which was coming up with some kind of language, and that was really one of their major tasks for the committee. When a business is being conducted on the public beach, that is not prohibited by the solicitation ordinance. So we have currently businesses that will get a phone call for a cabana, and they'll come out and set up that cabana for the renter on the public beach, and then they'll leave. They're not soliciting, they're not coming out and advertising on the beach or selling out of a parking lot or anything like that. They're just doing a remote drop-off. That isn't something that would be covered under this. This is something that was brought up by at least one of the commissioners regarding large photography setups or large routine yoga classes or other things like that, where it is a commercial activity occurring on the beach and could, in some situations, be disruptive to the public's use of the beach, but it's not an actual solicited business on that beach. They're undertaking some commercial activity that isn't being solicited for. So this is an attempt to come up with some parameters, and I'm happy to hear the committee's input on this. This would be, so again, going back to our chairs, tables, umbrellas, regulations, this would not cover those. So any tent of 10 feet by 10 feet or less would not be regulated through this. But if there is any kind of barrier set up, if there's anything that falls under what is considered a large gathering, a standard large gathering is 50 or more people are planned in one place at one time. That's typically the CDC, for example, that's their regulation for a large gathering, or any other kind of large barrier. And there does have to be some level of discretion at the code enforcement officers or the sheriff's determination for that. They would need to register with the city just so that we're aware that event's going on. There might be other parameters that are applied, and then some examples are given, beach exercise excursions, photography setups with large changing rooms or other kinds of setups like that, and similar business operations. This is hard to pare down. It was something that the commission wanted us to talk through, and I'm happy to get the committee's input on this.
Why does it need to be large? And let's think of the bad things that could happen. I take a yoga class, I'm not in shape, I hurt myself, find out that the yoga teacher is not certified, I sue the yoga teacher and the land that I got hurt on, which is public beach. That doesn't have to be 50, and
No.
knowing how liability works in Florida, everyone's going to sue everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Why not, if you're going to provide a commercial service,
Mm-hmm.
be it, and why not have to register with the city with a permit? As well as,
Regardless of size.
regardless of size.
Of user or audience.
And providing a service can be for a donation or for a payment. Because that's another way they get around, oh, no, I'm not charging. They're just donating money.
Right.
The other is, why wouldn't this be for private, where you would have to have permission of the landowner, just to make it holistic, if it's not through that? As well as, why are you excluding chairs? If it's chairs, tables, tents, why wouldn't you include all services? Why would you carve out those services? So
Yeah.
as I thought about this, and I actually had it highlighted, and I was going to go at, is why are we limiting it down? If it's not through a BTR
Mm-hmm.
or a special event, it should be permanent anywhere on the beach with the permission of the landowner for any, it could be an amenity, it could be a service, and that service could be for fee or donation, right? That kind of gets rid of all the loopholes.
Okay.
That's how I thought about it. I don't know if that helps you or hurts you.
It does. It would certainly be easier to do that, so that would capture what I brought up before, where there's a delivery of a cabana, regardless of size, to the beach. It would capture anybody who offers any kind of...
You have to,
Service.
You just have to worry about Senate Bill 150 on the private beach. Be a more burdensome, would that be a more burdensome or
if you have
requirement that
permission-
you obtain a permit for a private beach? But for public beach, we could apply it.
but the permit is just confirming that you have permission of the property owner. That's not a burden on the property owner. If the property owner is saying, no, I never gave them permission, that's not a burden on them. If they say yes, then they have the permit.
You still have to go get a permit, which is another thing, another
Permit's a burden.
another burden to go get.
I'm trying to,
Typically, it's the Senate Bill 180 is going to be the property owners.
and I'm trying to solve a
Say, hey,
different
I'm the
problem.
hotel and I want to allow this business, and now you're making me go get a permit to allow the business.
But they would get it through a BTR.
ETR is a taxing mechanism, so
But if they have the permission to do it through their BTR, they don't have to come get a permit. It's for the instance of, I've got a third-party company coming onto a piece of property that they do not own. They need to have a permit that has the permission of the landowner.
owner authorization, we could say, that owner authorization is required.
Okay.
There's also, a regulatory burden on our own staff to have to issue a lot of permits. We're pretty backed up doing things right now, so it's creating a new program.
Yep.
Mhm. And then I think
But this solves,
we were trying to let the de minimis ones go through. And regulate the ones that were 50 or more people.
but it doesn't,
Big
the
groups.
root of what the commission was going after isn't going to be 50 or more people. They were going after the smaller stuff, which
Okay.
this doesn't address that.
Tell me again, just so we, as
The
staff,
yoga
we
class,
understand,
the yoga
what's
class.
some, like example things that.
Maybe like a rehearsal dinner that's catered on the beach.
Catered dinners, things like that.
Yoga classes, cabanas, third-party cabana providers.
Okay.
And the rehearsal dinner might have 12 people.
The photo shoots. Typically, I'm used to, if you're going to go
What's
do
a-
a photo shoot in a park, you need to have a permit to do business in the park.
Like a fashion photo shoot, you mean? Like,
Instagram, anything. Wedding, photo shoot. And my question is, why are we limiting that to, that should be,
Well, the wedding photo shoot's a big can of worms. Or not the wedding, but just a photo for hire shoot happens every night in front of the hoteliers.
I think what gets confusing is, like, what if, like, a group of neighbors, we want to just go down to Pass a Grill and just do yoga on the beach? We're just doing
that's
it.
not a commercial.
So
no one's-
how do, like, how would the regulatory, like, code enforcement know the difference? Like,
You go up
they
and
don't
ask.
have a permit, but so they're going to go and ask, like, do you have a permit for this? And then they're going to be confused.
We're just a group of friends.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah,
it's
it's hard to
money changing hands,
It's hard to define maybe that's the trigger.
if it's a business that's getting paid or given a donation or offering as an amenity.
But, okay, so go back to the, rehearsal dinner party that's catered. I guess if it's catered, they're paying.
They're paying, they're being,
Okay.
it could be an amenity, the
So-
hotel, it's
so-
the wedding package as an amenity.
And I'm not
give
trying
you-
to be a jerk, but
This is-
devil's advocate, right? So if you've got a neighborhood association potluck dinner gathering on the beach and someone setting up tables for 24 people and there's no money transfer. And then you've got a rehearsal dinner for 12 people and it's catered and there is money transfer.
The commercial business needs a permit.
And the potluck dinner for 24 with tables is not.
That's a gathering, kind of like a group. Hey, let's get together and meditate on the beach.
I think the purpose, though, is to like make sure that others coming aren't inhibited from using the beach, and or to me, I'm concerned about whatever gathering. What do they leave behind? That would be
Sure.
my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Did they leave the beach looking identical to the way it looked before, or have they left behind lots of random things, trash and things that might have gotten broken or no one knew who it belonged to, so now it's just sitting there? Those would be my concerns, from 10 to 30 people, but.
Any commercial business that's on the island is regular. If I have a store, I gotta,
That's pretty simple, isn't it?
I'm trading money,
Right,
or I'm getting a donation,
right.
or I have a service that you're paying me for, and then I'm giving you an amenity, but you can go do that. Those are the loopholes you can get around this if you include all that.
Brandon,
It's different. It's a commercial activity on the beach.
well, Brandon, what was the problem this was trying to solve?
I think it's those businesses that make use of the beach, especially the ones that might have extensive setups or take up a large portion of the beach, where we don't have any and it's a permit. It's not
Where
necessarily
a permit was not required.
correct. It's effectively knowing that they're there, knowing that any major obstructions are either, as was brought up, they're either removed at the end of the day, or if it becomes a recurring issue, we have the ability to contact somebody to address it. I think that was the intent as I understood it.
So it's
So
register, not permit, right? The way it says register.
registered. I'm sorry, I said permit. They'll need to register with the city.
And the registration requirement currently includes activities like, what?
Well, the current registration requirement would be for watercraft. I mean, we do have a registration process for those. As mentioned before,
If you have a wedding, if you're a wedding if you're gonna do a wedding on the beach, do you need to register?
you don't register. You apply through the permit process, the special event.
Event permit.
Yeah.
Yep, that's an event.
And if they're operating from our city, so if they have a home-based business or another location, they would get a business tax receipt, and we would review the business through that. But there's no beach wedding provider registration or registry. It's just it's a permit for the
Here's a
event.
big can of worms, right?
But that could be.
And I'm gonna keep
You
it.
have to register if
Running
you're
out
going
of
to.
time.
If you do any commercial business by donation, the three that and add any you have to register. And in that registration, you have to declare where you are going to provide your services or your
Right.
things. And if it's on private property and they're not the owner, they have to get written approval from the property owner. That solves it. So I could have a guy from Tampa that provides something, driving over, he just can't go over and use public or private property without registering. And the citation would be an unregistered business.
So, yeah, I'm jumping around here, but,
It's all good.
so recently TI's had some concerns with the drum circle. What if the drum circle decided to leave TI and come to St. Pete Beach? How would that, what would happen with the way things are currently set up with the beach rules and such?
It's just a
That might be a question you don't have an answer to, and that's okay. I mean,
That's a great question.
Is it a special event or not? What do they do in TI? Have it every
a
week?
gathering.
Like Sastaki, they have one, I think it's,
I've never been to one. In 23 years I've been here on the beach, I've never been to one. I should have been, but every Sunday
I think
night,
it's almost every Sunday. They get bigger on like full moons
and
and
they,
I think other people have like started using that as a place to maybe solicit because they know there's a large gathering of people.
yeah, Yeah.
That's become the problem,
It's
but it
grown-
was
it's-
really just like people just wanting to go and hang out on the beach.
It's grown
That's how it
organic,
started.
yeah.
Now
It's just a
they're,
celebration.
now
of-
they're in the dunes, damaging the dunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an article about it a couple weeks ago.
Is that, okay, yeah.
And how they regulate it. And maybe that's yet another to be added to deal with this.
I don't know.
We're jumping around on it.
Yeah,
Is any gathering over X many people needs a special event permit?
and now we're back to the magic threshold of 50 people. I don't know.
That's a different problem than this was solving. but
Yeah,
that's something-
I mean, there's no money changing hands.
Right. That's a gathering over X amount of people.
So the money litmus test doesn't apply, but there's a similar problem. So, I don't know, I mean,
Did we give you enough?
it's like,
I think so, and I think the direction appears to be for just any business operating or making use of the beach would need to register with the city. The ones who come in through the business tax receipt process, they
They're already-
inherently have the upland property owner's permission because they register under the business tax receipt of the resort or the condo.
right.
So, yes, yeah, I believe so. And then is there anything that we need to look into with this one?
Well, you and I can look into First Amendment gathering in public spaces, see what the
There you go.
The second-
current
the
case
second-
law is on that.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of these events, they happen in the evenings or on the weekends when city offices aren't open. I don't know
Yeah,
if there's a remote way to apply or get registered. Maybe that's something to look into.
On the
You have
web,
to-
on
you
the
have to
city's
apply
website.
beforehand.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if someone's like just driving in for the weekend and they're gonna do like wedding photos on the beach, but it's like a whole big thing, right? Like big
They're-
setup
they're
with
poor-
lights and
Their poor planning is not our emergency.
I'm just saying, you might catch more
If you're gonna,
if you
If
can
you're driving
remotely
in
meet
for a wedding-
requirements.
well, if they're driving in to do a commercial business, they should know what they're doing. If they're coming in just taking pictures as a family, they don't need a permit.
The special event permit's a bigger process than just a registration. Yeah, so registration might be able to be done online.
So maybe it would give them some key things, like you can and can't do this. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like
Mhm.
ways to like let
Right.
people know what you can and can't do.
Rules of conduct,
Yeah, I don't
no
know.
littering, no being in the dunes,
hmm
no bringing your dog.
it's gotta
Don't
be,
do this if you haven't pre-registered with us. I don't know, just
Mhm.
a thing, I don't know.
it's gotta be top of mind for TI council, so that.
It just went through their
Yeah,
commission
it might be,
through this.
that'd be a good source.
Take a look and see what they've.
There was an
decided.
article a week or two ago about it, and the
Yeah, something
chief of
happened.
police, yeah.
There was
There's,
an
they had
incident, I think.
drugs, they had drug
Yeah.
problems, they had dune problems, they had they had,
Sex, drugs, rock and roll. There was
They-
fornication,
there
there
was
was drugs.
fornication in
yeah,
dunes.
It
there
was, that's what it was.
There was a lot of bad stuff.
So the fact
I
that
was
I
trying
haven't
to
taken
think
my
about how
kids
to
is
say
okay,
it
right?
Well, that's what it is. It's,
Woodstock on the beach.
right, right. So,
Okay, that gives us something to move forward with, so we'll bring that
Good stuff.
back in November. And we are at the end, section 9521. This is just moving forward the current special event regulations, referencing the newly created chapter 9510F for alcohol on the beach in conjunction with the special event permit. The 9522 was created as a reserve section to reference back to if we do in the Land Development Code keep the marine turtle lighting standards, this will be a reference to that with the change to the earlier section, potentially keeping that in the Land Development Code and keeping it as a reference. I might strike that, but just looking at the special events section, any comments from the committee?
no, other than what we were just talking about a minute ago. I mean, maybe that's the place for that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
Yeah, it might
if we
be.
Right.
can do something to
Right.
protect ourselves, that's where I'd put it.
Or to,
Well,
yeah.
that might be where you guys suggest to put it. The,
I guess the problem is how spontaneous is a drum circle? Is someone organizing it, or do people just know to go and they show up there?
it's on events in Tampa or St. Pete Beach websites.
Someone probably is organizing it, but I don't
In
know.
the article, they say there's no leader.
You know,
That's how they get around it.
It's this viral, organic, social media,
yes,
flash mob.
Facebook events, and then they list it
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, it's a tradition.
Right, right. And it's not all bad, it's not bad at all, it's gotten to be a problem in certain,
Sometimes it can be a problem.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so I know this is a little open-ended because you've seen a draft of the marine turtle lighting ordinance amendments. You have not seen a draft of anything that might be in ordinance 3, but is there anything within this behavioral conduct scope that you feel was left out? Is there
Yeah.
anything we should?
That's your trial balloon, and thank you for raising that, that's perfect. I've got a short list if I.
Please.
And I'll just, hit it, boom, boom, boom. Some of it's special interest, some of it's general. The secret garden at the mouth of Blind Pass, is that private, public? Does any of what we're doing affect or impact that activity one way or the other?
I'm not sure. I could look into that. What's your question, one way or your input on that?
You're familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes,
The
yes.
Okay. I think we'd all be in violent agreement. We don't want to do anything to hinder what the folks that are doing that are doing. Whether it's private land, public land,
I think it's state-owned.
I don't know. What's that?
I think it's a state park.
State park?
Like an easement there or something, or?
I just,
It might be on
someone told
private,
me it was a state park.
might be on private land. If you
I
haven't
don't
seen
think it's
it,
private land.
no? Okay.
The one question is it considered a dune? And will it fall under the dune regulations where they would just have to get maintenance permits? Which
They could
Could-
write the maintenance permits
Hmm?
from what I've seen. I mean,
They- they could be limited in some of the things they are currently doing to the current dune trimming regulations, which are specific.
you know the place I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good.
Anytime I go north, I walk the secret.
Okay, good.
So that's a good question. Is that considered dune? It might be considered state park, which then, is that still a dune? And that would cut off some of
Yeah.
the regulations here.
Same kind of thought, different area. The secret side, I hesitate to even bring this up. It's been a nightmare. The secret sidewalk thing at Passacrow, is that at all touching that type, anything going on there? Any linkage, I guess?
I don't know even
That
where.
you can think of?
You know where?
We'll look into
There is
it.
a secret sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm tossing it out.
Very secret.
I don't know where it's
Can't
at.
tell you.
I think there was
What's
a,
You
that?
could tell us, but we.
Is that on the beach?
No, it's actually adjacent to people's property.
20th Ave to the north?
I think that was the one in litigation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city's out of that litigation,
Okay.
thankfully. But
So-
we'll check in to see if we.
I mean, there might be some kind of hangover effect from,
Okay,
I don't know.
we'll
right?
check it out.
Join up against the beach?
No, it's not that close to the beach.
Oh, then it would,
Well, it's
I-
between the structures and the water.
If I remember right, that area, regardless of ownership, I believe that falls into the recreation open space, but we can look into it
Okay.
and where the city
Alright.
ended up.
I'm offering it up just to
Yeah, no.
make sure it's on the radar.
That's good.
I don't know. The beach access and the walkovers, that might be a different ballgame altogether. Beach access, number of walkovers, location, where they are, who governs maintenance, the slope, the rise and the run, all that engineering, building, design, minutia stuff. I mean, that's all out. There's nothing here that addresses that.
No, we enable beach walkovers, and we do have regulations for new development when it needs to be provided within a certain range, but any development, that all goes through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection.
And then,
there's FLDEP regulations and guidelines
Okay.
for wood walkovers.
All right.
They're very specific.
and that would include the use of, water for a foot wash and the water that cascades down the slope and ends up on the public sidewalk on the edge of the street and puddles chronically in
I
Pass
don't
Grill.
think that's a,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking, I don't think that's a part of this.
That's something separate.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good, fair enough. I had dune vegetation, we've already, loud music. There are times where there are folks that show up in the Upham Beach area in front of, the resorts and hotels. And there's a very noticeable and easy to hear sharing of personal music.
I believe that would be under the noise
And
ordinance.
it's
not this.
amplified. That's noise ordinance? Okay. So we want to leave that,
Keep me in bounds, but I
we
believe.
want to leave that in the noise section and not make it specific to the beach?
We'll take a look at that. It's a boombox.
Amplification
right?
of music on the beach?
People bringing the boombox, sitting next to their chair and turning.
And the
it real-
boombox,
Can we bring it into this?
I mean, the
Take a look at it.
boombox requires
I would love it.
a beach wagon.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
If we can put some sort, it's annoying. You go out there and try and enjoy the beach, and then the guy or gal next to you has a thing that's just blaring.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate music, but
There's
We need-
blaring, and then there's like
Blaring.
really blaring.
if
That
we
is-
could do something there, that would be a behavioral thing that would be
And
fantastic.
I'm not trying to be buzzkill here.
No, I like,
Well, depending, it could disturb nesting birds.
Yeah, yeah.
that's a public nuisance.
And then finally, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but is there anything that we've drafted or we're proposing that would prevent the creation of a beach boardwalk?
No.
I don't think there's anything explicitly opposed to that in these regulations. That is something that, and other communities have done it. It obviously involves substantial state buy-in, and I think there have been other pilots.
It's a big project.
Right. I don't think there's anything explicitly prohibiting that, but it's not directly
Okay.
enabled.
And Brandon, thank you for you and your team's effort for
Oh,
all
yeah.
of
Thank you all. These have been great comments. I appreciate that.
this.
Do you have anything else,
That's all I have.
Dan?
I had something, actually on page, it was in the comparison, on page 29. There's a comment in there that they're going to add bicycles to the registration. And as we talked about earlier, I'm in favor of no bicycles regardless. And I don't know how that got there, but I just wanted to point that out.
So that was referring to the earlier, the more lenient potential to register a bicycle and use it on the beach. I think the consensus from the committee has been to remove that, so that will be stricken, and I'll include that in the update table.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Do you have anything?
We were talking about trying to regulate, we were mostly talking about businesses, but I guess getting back to the large groups on the beach, I guess I just want to make sure that I personally don't want to do things that would inhibit locals, like neighborhoods from, friends gathering. I mean, one of my children goes to school in Paso Grill, we go to the church there, and there are times when there are quite a few of us on the beach. So I just want to make sure that we're not in any way inhibiting that practice, because that's a community that lives on the beach, that, they do a lot of their fun activities on the beach. So I just don't want to give the idea that we don't want those groups being able to utilize the beach.
Right.
They may be large at times. I don't know that trying to require them to say, we're going to be on the beach on Friday from, 1 to 3, I don't, that's kind of their standard practice.
It's not realistic.
If it's standard practice and it becomes a nuisance, they could, hey, city, we usually meet 1 to 3 on the beach.
Yes, I guess I'm just saying, I don't want to
I
give
don't
the
want to
idea
discourage
that,
it, but
right, that we're inhibiting locals and businesses who utilize the
we
beach
should
for
be doing quite the
for
opposite.
fun and invite families.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure to clarify that a bit.
So I think the next step is, for this, you'll come back with, shall I call it a final draft that would go to the commission?
That's the intent. So the November meeting, presuming that we also get through the October marine turtle lighting ordinance, we will make those amendments. We'll bring them back to you at your November meeting. Don't have to make a vote. If you're not comfortable with the content, we can modify it further, or if there are changes, right? But if you would like to make a recommendation, that's the intent of that meeting, so.
My intent would be, is we would make our changes like that, and then we would do a vote to move it forward to the commission.
Okay.
With that, anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.